Hello, welcome to Happiness by Habit, the podcast where we dive into intentional habits that lead to lasting joy, success, and a life you truly love. Today's episode is a total game changer, especially if you have ever wondered what's really possible for your health, energy, and lifespan. My guest today is Nick Engerer, biohacker, longevity, mindset strategist, and a founder of A Longer Life. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Silvana. I'm already enjoying our conversation. You're just effusing the happiness that you're here to tell us about.
Oh, thank you. I am so excited. I'm very intrigued about the topic. So today's topic, I think, is going to be very, very interesting. Your mission, I was reading my notes. Definitely, your mission is super bold and inspiring because it's something that most of people will want in their life, a longer, because it seems to be nowadays one of the most valuable resources we can try for is time. That's the most important resource nowadays. So, and you can make it happen. Let's jump in. Let's talk about how to live longer, feel better, and think bigger about your potential. Let's jump
That's
in
a great
then.
list.
Let's start. Absolutely. What exactly is the meaning of longevity mindset and why it's so powerful in shaping our future health?
Yeah, well, as your listeners will already be quite familiar with, the way we think about our existence, the way we see the world, our worldview, these are what shape our reality. And we have a lot of control over how we choose to engage with our life each day. A longevity mindset is really taking advantage of that malleability, that changeability of what we think about each day, what we focus on, what drives us, and targeting something that is really powerful, which is the long-term future of our health. So when we say longevity, we're talking about how many years we can live on this planet, as well as, most importantly, how many of those years we can spend in good health. And a longevity mindset, as we'll go through, has two key realizations, as I like to say, the way I boil it down to its most simple elements, that we can implement in our life. A realization meaning our changing of how we see reality. That once we come to those realizations, we can live a longer, healthier life, and hence a longer life. That's my business. And that's my mission, is to help people adopt and cultivate in their life a longevity mindset.
It is a beautiful mission for sure. You have said beliefs can age us or save us. What are some damaging, limiting beliefs that people hold about aging?
Yeah, this is the first chunk of that longevity mindset adoption. It's challenging our limiting beliefs about aging, the ones that we have been subconsciously programmed with. And so I've heard you talk about it on your podcast. I've heard it used many times in this space. So people are generally familiar with the concept of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So Carol Dweck pioneered this concept of a growth mindset, and a longevity mindset is one of those. And so that means that we're looking for ways to improve ourselves, that if we put in the hard work, we realize that we can change the outcomes. They're not simply destiny. They're not things that are just going to happen to us. And then specifically with our long-term health, we find when we analyze our beliefs about aging that there are some quite unfortunate and ultimately dangerous beliefs that we hold about our health future. Most powerfully, most of us believe through this subconscious programming from society, from our peers, from our family, from the cultural inputs that we consume, TV shows, books, etc., that we are destined to get sick and weak as we grow older. That is the most dangerous thing that you can keep moving forward with. And I work with my audience to help them go head on into the limiting beliefs they have around their health future, specific to that challenge. Thinking, when I get older, I'm going to have to take 4 or 5 pills. When I get older, I'm not going to be able to do my favorite physical activity anymore. When I get older, my joints are going to hurt and my eyesight's going to fade and my hair will be gray and I'll lose my relevance to society and I'll be less happy. These are the very dangerous beliefs that we hold, because when we have those beliefs and we don't challenge them, that becomes our destiny. But gratefully, given this longevity mindset opportunity, we can actually look at the evidence, look at the beliefs that we hold, and shift those beliefs from subconscious programming to conscious realization that, in fact, and there is abundant evidence for this. The more you look, you can be strong as you grow older. You can be healthy as you grow older. You can become more relevant and have richer contributions to society as you grow older. And as your listeners will be thrilled to hear, you can also be even happier as you grow older. And those are completely flipping those limiting beliefs on their head.
Wow, that is so powerful because it is true. I heard those limiting beliefs before, and it's like I guess part of what people really think, strongly believe those negative and damaging limiting beliefs. So that is so dangerous, and it is so important to be mindful and pay attention to what our beliefs are, because what we focus on expands, right? So I would love to learn your journey. How did you get into this amazing topic and made it your area of expertise?
So I'm a research scientist by background. I actually studied atmospheric science. And so it's not actually my technical background that got me here. It was very powerful and moving life experience. So when I was in my late 20s, when my son was born, he's now 11 years old, his mother was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer, and during the cesarean section, and she had to have 2 surgeries, chemotherapy. It was a big deal. And in that same year, I had 2 of my closest friends also be diagnosed with cancer in their late 20s.
Oh,
and
sorry,
that was quite a harrowing time. Yeah, it was difficult.
Sure.
It was a challenging period of time for me. But with that kind of growth mindset baked into how I see the world, I emerged from that really challenging the status quo and wondering, why is it that so many of these cancer diagnoses come at stage 3 or stage 4 when it's too late sometimes, or when we need major surgeries that have lifetime consequences? And, all 3 of those individuals are alive today because of the advancements in medical technology. So I found myself wondering, do we have the technology to detect those diseases early? And with a bit of investigation, I found, in fact, we very much do. And that was back in 2017, 2018. And I became fascinated with this topic. And the deeper I went into it, the more I was seeing that it's not just disease prevention we have the capability to change and remove so much suffering from society through doing so, but in fact, we are understanding the biology of aging, how to intervene into the biology of aging so that we can stay healthy for longer. And in fact, it is the aging process itself that increases the risk we have for encountering cancer, as well as metabolic disease like diabetes, as well as neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's. And these have tremendous impacts on society and bring so much suffering to the world. So I became very interested in leveraging technology to reduce human suffering. And ultimately, for us to do that, we have to learn how to slow down, halt, possibly even reverse the aging process itself, which is quite an intriguing and thought-provoking topic.
For sure, thought-provoking. Tell me about you, because you seem super young, Nick. I don't know how old are you, but you seem to be in your 20s. So whatever you're doing, and if you have an 11-year-old son, I don't think you're in your 20s anymore. So therefore, whatever you're doing is working. It's working.
I like to be good walking evidence. I turned 40 this year.
You turned what?
I turned 40 this year. I'm 39.
No way. Oh my God, Nick. Tell us all your secrets. Spill the beans.
That's exactly what I'm doing with my whole work, is trying to help everyone else do the same thing. Yeah.
I love it. Because you personally, I see on your bio that you reverse your biological age by 3 years, right? I think it's much more than 3, but that's what I see here. What habits or practices help you move the needle the most?
Right. So you just introduced a really important concept, a biological age. So in my first answer, I was talking about the biology of aging and how we're learning to understand it and intervene in it. One of the most important things we've become able to do in the last 5 years and have made incredible advancements on is measuring the aging process at an individual level. So we can test our biological age and see not just our chronological age, the age we have on our driver's license or passport, but how old our body is. And in fact, that science has advanced so far that we can tell you the biological age of individual organs and organ systems, as well as how quickly you are currently aging. And this means that we can then do something about that, because if we can measure something, we can then try to change it and measure it again. And so when you describe that I reversed my biological age, I like to be cautious with that word. I like to say I improved my biological age. I don't know that we're really reversing aging yet, but I improved my biological age. I've done that multiple times. And the one experiment you're referring to, I changed my supplement routine by one longevity supplement called alpha-ketoglutarate. And alpha-ketoglutarate works on the Krebs cycle, your energy cycle at your cellular level, and it has positive impacts across so many different parts of your biology. But most interestingly, after taking that for 1 year and testing my biological age 3 different ways before and after, I found that I made an average improvement of 3 years in that year of time. So that's a pretty impressive result. And it's an example of what we can start to do by measuring our biology of aging and utilizing these longevity technologies, in this case, a longevity supplement that can mean that we can change our biological age by improving it, which is very exciting and great evidence that what I'm saying is not just hype. This is really happening. You can do it yourself.
Oh, I love it. And before everybody runs to get those supplements, explore more about the other interesting habits that can help you move the needle in the, how do you say, and you didn't say reversing the age, you say improving your age.
Yeah, improving your biological
what
age.
other things can somebody do to improve their age or to look for the body to be younger, right? To feel younger.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fun question, isn't it? So this is why I've created A Longer Life, my whole project that you can find on my website, nickengerer.org. I've built a 4-part framework to help people do this, because the first thing that happens when you hear that something like I just described is possible, the first thing you might be tempted to do is go buy some alpha-ketoglutarate and try that out yourself. But
exactly.
That's not actually where you start.
Google it.
I'll tell you where to get that later, but that's not where you start. So where you start is with your mindset. I built a 4-part framework. First, you're working on that mindset, because we're talking about a long-term vision here. And we got to start with how we see the way the world working. After we adopt a longevity mindset, which you can do with my free online course on my website, you can then start building your own strategy by identifying what diseases of aging you're most likely to develop. And I can provide some details on that if you'd like. But the next thing we do after that is we change our lifestyle factors to reduce the risk for the things we are most likely to develop, the diseases we're most likely to develop. So just one example I'll give you. If you have a mother or father, related aunt, uncle, grandparents that develop type 2 diabetes, then your mission is to avoid developing type 2 diabetes. And the main thing that you need to do is stay physically active and not eat too many refined carbohydrates. Like, those are lifestyle changes. They are longevity lifestyle changes, the third part of the framework. Those don't actually cost you any money. That's actually free. And in terms of the longevity lifestyle factors, there's 5. We can turn the knob on nutrition, fitness, mental health, sleep, and environmental factors like the air we breathe and the water we drink. That's where you start. That's the free stuff. That's the easy changes in terms of knowing how to make those changes. We all know we should move more. Probably most of us need to eat less. Some of us need to eat more, sleep better. But why would you want to do those things? That's why you got to start with the mindset, because it gives you the motivation that if I'm making these changes, they're not just going to make me feel better. It means I could live 5 to 10 years longer. And that's a really big difference. And then the 4th part of the framework is that longevity technology, like the supplements I talked about. But we don't start there. We start back at the beginning with mindset.
Fascinating, the topic, Nick. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Especially now, I think really people are looking for more meaningful life and time in their life. But not only they want to live longer, they want to live healthier. So this could be an amazing gift that one person can give to themselves. Change the mindset in order to have a healthier lifestyle, to be able to give yourself more years of life, but of healthy living. That's just beautiful. Interesting. Let's talk about, the title of this podcast. The name of this podcast is Happiness by Habit. So let's talk about your happy habits. Describe some daily practices that boost joy while supporting long-term health.
Yes. So I think a key component of our wellness, although I haven't worked this into my online content yet, is our own spiritual practice. And by that, I mean being connected to something bigger than yourself. Living in realization that this world is interconnected and your actions have either positive or negative impacts on others around you. And so one of the things that I find most powerful for my happiness is my own practice in my faith. So I would consider myself a Christian. I like to read the Bible every morning and pray, and that really grounds me. And I also like to get outside, get my feet in the grass, get some sunlight in my eyes first thing in the morning, and just breathe and ground myself into the day before I start going off to do everything. And that is how I like to start my day, by focusing on something bigger than myself, the bigger picture, as well as making sure I come back into the present moment and can feel my own vitality in my body and my breathing and the grass beneath my feet and the light in my eyes. And of course, there's a lot of biological benefits to what I just described as well. But that groundedness, that routine in the morning, that is one of the foundations of my own happiness. And if I ever have a day where I miss that, I notice that there's something missing in my day. There's a bit of meaning missing in my day, a bit of connection missing in my day.
Yes, I was watching one of your videos and you were barefoot. So talk about connecting with the environment. Let's talk about some of the benefits. Something so simple, but to be barefoot is really a good practice.
Yeah, sure. What would you specifically be interested in knowing?
Like, for instance, one thing I know is that I remember when I was pregnant, they suggested I walk on the beach, just barefoot, just connect with the nature. It's something so simple but so powerful that helps you be present, enjoy what you have. And it's free, like it's one of the simple habits or simple things you can do. Well, not necessarily on the beach, but walking barefoot is really a good and easy, a simple way to connect with the environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been a bit of a barefoot type person for quite some time, well before I was even thinking about longevity. And I love getting my shoes off and feeling the grass and walking and being connected with the ground. And there's a lot of, if you study Eastern medicine, a lot of connection to meridians in your foot. There's a lot going on when your feet touch the ground. And we know that in terms of the fascial systems in your body, your feet connect to most everything else in your body. And so there's a lot of value there in strengthening your feet, being present, feeling the grass, feeling the beach. And so, yeah, I most certainly love being barefoot to start my day.
Are you barefoot right now?
I am, and actually barefoot right now.
Me too.
Brilliant.
All right. That's another thing we have in common because we are also wearing the same color shirt. That's interesting.
It's a very nice color, aubergine. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's talk about docu-series you're hosting, Reverse the Race for Longevity. What inspired it and what did you learn in the process, Nick?
Yeah, the inspiration really was to try to take this excitement and a bit of hype that I feel is in this longevity space and really ground it into some practical examples and into language that the everyday person could understand. I wanted something my father could watch, that your neighbor could watch, and be able to connect with not only the excitement, but the practical applications of what's happening in all of the longevity space. And so I had actually sold a business and was pivoting full-time into working in the longevity sector. And I reached out to a guy who I knew was interested in producing a longevity docuseries and said, hey, look, I'd like to put some seed money in to get this project to happen. Let's go find some sponsors. Let's make this thing happen. And in January 2024, we went to beautiful Costa Rica and shot it there over 4 days. And it was a tremendous experience. We brought in entrepreneurs, scientists, medical experts from around the world, as well as 2 everyday guests, Sharon and Kevin, who actually were from Iowa in the United States. And Sharon worked at the local post office for her whole career, and Kevin was a corn farmer. And when you shake his hand, you can feel that he's a corn farmer. Like, these are just everyday, ordinary folks. And we were able to dramatically improve their biological ages by taking them through a longevity clinic, changing some things in their diet, getting them onto some key longevity supplements, and doing just the basics that I'm describing as I speak with you. And I framed the whole series also then around this idea of a longevity mindset and used them as an example. They've adopted a longevity mindset. They see that the choices they're making, the way they're investing their time, energy, and money into themselves has long-term consequences and, in this case, benefits. And we were able to show that in this series. It's called Reverse the Race for Longevity. You can watch it on, I think it's going live on E360 platform very, very soon. Mm-hmm. It's also on Glued TV. There's another one that it's on. And we're very excited about how people are responding to it and hoping to do another season.
Oh, that sounds really fascinating, Nick. And what a beautiful place to film it, Costa Rica. I used to live in Costa Rica, actually. Where did you film it? Where, in what area?
We were actually, I'm trying to remember the name.
Guanacaste,
No, it was just outside of San Jose.
Jaco, Manuel Antonio.
I'm sorry, I'm just dropping the name.
Oh,
at
don't
the
worry,
moment.
don't worry.
I can follow up with you on that. But I will tell you that it's just the most beautiful place. I love everyone referring to Pura Vida and their friendliness.
Pura Vida Life, my goodness.
They're in
yes.
a beautiful environment. They've got great social cohesion, and this is why it becomes one of the blue zones, a place where people are living exceptional lives. Yes.
Yes.
Vista
and
Atenas.
There is another.
That's
Atenas.
Vista
yes.
Atenas. Yeah, that's where we
there
shot.
You go.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, it's beautiful, and it is a blue zone, right? Costa Rica, also.
Yes.
So, and that makes sense. That makes it the perfect place. Very good. And can we talk about that? Let's talk about what things people can do to live a longer, happier life. What can what can be some simple steps that people can implement to live a longer, healthier life, Nick?
Yeah, beautiful. This really comes back to that 4-part framework I've built to guide people right through that process.
Very
right?
powerful framework.
It is, and we have to go back to mindset and just mention that again, because if you can really get through these 2 key realizations that I've shared, I've mentioned the first one, which is that disease is not destiny, that you can stay strong and healthy as you get older. The second one is that the longer you stay alive, the more technology is here to keep you healthy. And that is a powerful, powerful shift we're going on. You know, you had a really good conversation with a colleague of yours, Jen Driscoll, just recently on your podcast, where you guys were really talking about the pivotal role of AI in improving productivity, just the fun things you can do with your kids, even talking about cooking meals. One of my favorite video games, Zelda, I loved that. And that, case in point, not only can you use AI to do that, you could go to AI, upload your most recent blood work that you got, and it can analyze it and tell you what changes you should make to improve your health. You can go to an AI tool and tell it a bit about your family health history, which is what I suggest you build in the second part of the framework, which is taking a tally of all the diseases of aging that your related aunts and uncles, parents, grandparents developed. And it could then help you understand what diseases of aging you might be most likely to develop. And that's just AI for everyday use. Artificial intelligence is also helping us understand really complicated problems like how proteins fit together. It's improving our understanding of biological processes. It's deepening our connection to the very vast amount and rapidly growing amount of research on different longevity molecules that are available around the world. And so in artificial intelligence, case in point, that's already a very powerful tool that can help you live healthier for longer, let alone all these other things like longevity supplements that we're developing, or beautiful tools like red light therapy, or being able to measure and change your biological age. When you start to see that those 5 to 10 years that you could gain of healthy lifespan by listening to what I'm suggesting and by adopting a healthy lifestyle and using some of these technologies, you're not only talking about living 5 to 10 years longer, you're talking about living 5 to 10 more years of that rapid technological advancement for all of health. And we're just in a tremendous time where how long human beings are able to live, it really is a big question mark at the moment. And that is, again, part of not only the excitement, but honestly, the opportunity to reduce human suffering in the world by stopping some of the processes that are causing aging. There's tremendous potential in that, because that is where most of disease comes from. And so understanding that and wanting to stick around as long as you can, those are some of the things that I think form the basis of it's the free changes you can do by adopting those 2 key realizations of a longevity mindset, which I go through in detail on the free online course.
Well, definitely we're going to put it here on the podcast so people can join. I will personally be joining that group for sure. This is really fascinating. Fascinating, Nick. Let's talk about the advances of technology. So powerful, the things that you can do with AI, right? What do you see the influence of AI and technology in general can contribute to this purpose of living longer, living healthier in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, so what's going to happen and is already happening is that the promise of personalized input or guidance, personalized medicine is finally going to be realized. Because we've been hearing a lot about personalized healthcare or personalized coaching for health, yet that promise really hasn't been delivered on. So we start to have some basic tools that are evidence that this is occurring. So women can track their cycle using apps, and they can give feedback, and they can get a little bit better at doing that. You can use a wearable like a watch or a smart ring and learn a bit about your sleep and get some feedback and improve it. But what artificial intelligence is doing is making it possible to take in all those sources of disparate information from all over the place: your family history, your genetics, your blood work, your wearable data, your verbal feedback, your written feedback, input from a practitioner, input from the latest research, input from people who are similar to or like you in terms of ethnicity, age, life experience, environmental exposures, and finally cut through the noise and give you deep, personalized insights. That is what's coming in the next 5 to 10 years from artificial intelligence tools. And I know this because I'm actually an investor in 2 different companies who are doing this. And so I see the very bleeding edge of what is possible with this type of technology, and it's tremendously exciting. We're going to be able to help the vast number of women who have mystery symptoms that they can't figure out, where they don't feel like they're heard by their medical practitioner. We're at the point where we're going to be able to help amateur athletes break through plateaus that their coach hasn't been able to figure out, their nutritionist hasn't been able to figure out. The personalized era of medicine is going to become possible through AI and AI agents and apps which connect you to these AI tools and take care of the exchange of all that information for you and make it easy. That is what we're looking at in terms of the next 5 to 10 years for AI-powered health. And it's really exciting because, again, that promise has been out there. It hasn't been fulfilled. It's felt a bit elusive, but it's coming. That's my prediction of the future, which I enjoy making.
Right on. And what a good place to invest, Nick. Those are really good opportunities because that's where everything is going. It's moving forward to the power, with the power of AI. So absolutely amazing. Let's talk about your why. What keeps you, what drives your energy, what makes you happy, and why you do what you do, Nick?
Well, I put in there earlier my really powerful motivation with my encounter with mortality through my son's mother and my 2 close friends in the late 20s, right? So there's a big part of my why is helping to expand the awareness of preventative healthcare options. So most people still don't know that you can have a full body MRI and detect cancers at very early stages. The same thing is true now with blood tests. We have blood tests that can detect dozens of different types of cancers well before traditional technologies can pick them up. So preventative healthcare and being able to save people's lives with early detection is one key pillar of what drives me, because I find a lot of purpose in that from my own personal motivation. And the second part really gets into spreading awareness about what's becoming possible with the technology I just mentioned and where people can start. Because what I discovered when I got very excited about longevity technologies and started trying everything and flying to longevity clinics and sequencing my genome, all the rest, is that I spent a lot of time and money on things I simply didn't need. And so what I really feel driven by is helping people navigate this really exciting future that they get all hyped up about, but do it with strategic long-term thinking. Slow down and really understand the problem. If you just even take a minute to think through, if I'm going to buy this supplement that I see on my computer screen or phone screen in front of me, and it's going to help me with my longevity, I'm going to be using it for quite a long time, aren't I? So you really want to know.
For sure.
You want to measure before and after taking that supplement to make sure it's helping you in the way that you think it is. Because every decision you make for your longevity is by definition a long-term investment. It's a long-term investment. So you want to be spending your time, money, and energy wisely. And I find that challenge very fun to engage with, particularly in a world where everything is moving so fast, is often driven by hype, and decisions are often made with not great information or out of desperateness to improve a situation or out of some misplaced motivation to try to feel better. We can boil it back down to the basics, start from that framework that I built, get the right mindset, build a bit of a strategy, change our lifestyle, and then add the fancy stuff. And I really like that journey. I really like helping to guide people through that process. That gives me pleasure. I enjoy it.
It must be super rewarding experience to help people accomplish these goals. Can you
Yeah, it's
tell us
very
about
rewarding.
some of your best results, or the story of one of your customers, of your clients that got the really great results and that you feel that satisfaction of helping them?
Look, I think that the type of feedback that we get from people is very consistent. What I just described in terms of breaking down the complexity and putting it into a framework that guides people, they feel so relieved by that. That's the thing that consistently comes back to me that I find really, really important for driving me forward, but also valuable in terms of knowing that what we're doing is having a positive impact, because people are very overwhelmed by any experience they have trying to improve their health. A great example is that you're on Instagram and you're scrolling through and you slow down for a few seconds because you see somebody using a red light therapy device, and maybe you read the caption and you send it to a friend. Oh, check this cool thing out. You are now the target of an inundation of advertisements for red light therapy from all different sources, because that's how these targeted algorithms work. And you won't really be equipped to know which of those devices is actually the best one to purchase versus who bid the highest for me to see their advertisement. And so helping people have some clarity on which brands they can trust, which technologies are the real deal versus which ones might be made to make a quick dollar. That differentiation is something we also find a lot of satisfaction with, because we choose to collaborate with brands that share our values, have great founders who have a strong mission to improve health, and have enough science for us to say, okay, this looks like it could work. And then we show users how to figure out for themselves if it does help them. We call it self-experimenting. And that's another thing I really love. When I hear someone talk to me about their own experience building a self-experiment, measuring before and after and showing that something improved their health, that is so good. We love that. That's one of the best things we hear about.
For sure, absolutely. I was just exploring your website, and I would love to share with the audience your website, and we're going to put it here on the podcast, and then also recommend our listeners to join the challenge. I think it can be a great experience and an amazing step towards living longer and healthier. So definitely recommend that. Well, it has been a true pleasure, Nick. Is there any last piece of advice you would like to share with the audience before we close this up?
Yeah, look, I think there's a wonderful connection to be made here between the whole idea of habits and happiness, and the definition of why you're here and what you're doing and what your audience is interested in. And that when we learn and when we really understand that we can live a longer, healthier life by making some key targeted changes, what does that give us the opportunity to do? It gives us the opportunity to further live out and deepen our mission, our life's purpose, our life's task, to really focus on the things that give us fulfillment and positive feedback in our life. And it may be that you've not done that yet. There might be a dream that you have that you've not pulled the trigger on. And for many people, I hear, it's too late. I'm too old. You're not. You can reinvent yourself at any age in this world, and that's part of a longevity mindset. And so if that's you, don't give up on that dream. That's how I'd like to close.
No, that's a powerful closing remark, Nick. And I think now with the pandemic and all the different challenges that we have experienced in the last few years, that is a word that people are very familiar with, reinventing ourselves. So this is a good opportunity. You can reinvent yourself at any time, and it's not too late. It's perfect timing. They say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best is today, right? So we can make that happen. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you, Silvana.
Thank you. Really, I truly enjoyed this conversation. It was incredibly eye-opening. Your passion for helping people live longer, healthier, and more intentionally is contagious. And I know our listeners are walking away inspired to retain their relationship with aging and vitality. I strongly recommend you to our listeners to visit your website at nickengerer.org, and we're going to put that website here also. Thank you for connecting with us in another episode of Happiness by Habit. And I appreciate it very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.